It had been a long time since I last played 2D platformer games. My favorites include Super Mario World and Pokemon Silver. They, among many others, were my introduction to handheld games. This video game, developed by Sabotage Studios, reminded me of what was incredible about those styles of games. Even many to this day still carry that same format and presentation. Popping with color and whimsical sounds, Sea of Stars made me want to return to playing 2D platformer games again. A year later, since this game's initial release and a recent port to the PlayStation console, I have put together this video to share my thoughts. Bear with me, as I am still yet to finish this game. This is my first impressions review on Sea of Stars. I first went into Sea of Stars not knowing much of what the story was about, and I am glad I did. Despite the little marketing surrounding this game, it was nice to dive into a game and slowly unfold its story through exploration and combat. Focusing on the main story alone, Sabotage Studios' latest game can take up to 50 hours to fully complete. While I have more to discover as of recording, I am still very impressed with what I had experienced. As a player who mostly plays games to search for a good story, the simple and fun gameplay also shaped a positive response to Sea of Stars. The game's story explored the themes of responsibility and friendship. What Sea of Stars achieved in its emotional depths of the story was its cast of charming characters. Front and center are Valeria and Zale, warriors who embody the powers of the moon and sun respectively. Each of them has their own unique set of abilities, which I will touch on later. Valeria and Zale embark on a journey to combat dwellers, monsters created by an alchemist named the Fleshmancer. Joining them on their journey are Garl, a self-proclaimed cook and childhood friend, and Circe, a masked assassin. Without spoiling too much, more characters also join the crew, each of them also possessing different skills, personality, and assets that will become beneficial to the team's journey through navigation and combat. All dynamics between the characters were heartwarming through beautifully hand-drawn cutscenes and wonderfully written dialogue. Each scene was well executed to establish their distinctive personalities, particularly those involving Valeria, Zale, and Garl. It is clear evidence that the three of them are lifelong friends, and this journey ultimately tested their loyalty to each other, thus providing some emotional moments in the game. As the cast grew larger, some characters stood out more than others. For example, Circe the masked assassin was fascinating. Her mysterious demeanor and hidden agenda made her an intriguing character to further explore her past. Others included an alchemist and a very large pink creature. The player is given the freedom to play with their position, determined by their abilities, and what they can offer for better combat outcomes. Sabotage Studios' previous game, The Messenger, was a game I had not played before, but perhaps after playing Sea of Stars, I will most likely check it out. It has been confirmed that these two games are set in the same universe. Apart from that, the art style and presentation share many similarities. The pixels and colors are what first come to mind, bringing back memories of retro-styled pixel art games including Zelda. Like with many 2D games, the characters can freely move around an open-world map, exposed to many roaming enemies, and interact with the environment for navigation and puzzle-solving purposes. But unlike most 2D games, there was an underlying 3D element, almost playing with perception at times. The designs of every level in this game were fascinating to explore. Traversing in the open world involved walking, climbing, jumping, and swimming. Many secrets and surprises can be found through solving puzzles. Thankfully, the puzzles in this game were not too complicated. In fact, many of them were straightforward, often requiring Valerire's or Zael's ability to call the sun or the moon for lighting effects. Others just simply required maneuvering objects to create bridges for gaps or unlocking pathways in caves. Running back and forth in caves overstayed their welcome at times, but the majority of the puzzles expected the player to move from one place to another and back again to progress further. Combat in Sea of Stars is turn-based. Players can control up to 6 characters. A lock system is in place to easily switch between the different characters' list of abilities. Thankfully, each of them was quick and easy to learn. As the combat became more complex over time, it became second nature to pick up. It also required a lot of focus. In contrast to previous combat games, it is all about waiting your turn. In this case, it is more engaging. The player must be watchful and mindful of what is happening. As touched on earlier, the main characters of Valeriere and Zael are warriors who possess powers from the moon and sun. Like them, every playable character have a skill set aligned with their special ability. A variety of effects including damage, healing, or shielding. In the case of Valeriere, moon magic offered moves including Crescent Arc, a physical attack using her spear, and Moonerang, projectiles that can be bounced when perfectly timed, can cycle through multiple enemies, thus dealing greater damage. Zael's powers from the sun include Dash Strike and Sunball, dealing fire damage. Despite the opposing forces, these two can work together, and even combining their powers result in combo attacks, some visually stunning and devastatingly damaging. Rhythm playing is integrated within the game's combat system. By pressing the action button in sync with the animation, resulted in either increasing or decreasing damage. Every reaction benefited the character's combat ability via a boost or extending that character's turn. This is all because the soundtrack of this game was beautifully executed. Composers Eric W. Brown and Yasunori Mitsuda balanced both of the game's exciting and emotional moments. I first played this game when it became available on the Nintendo Switch. Considering it appealed to me for its nostalgic feel, it seemed appropriate to play Sea of Stars on a portable console at the time. With a PlayStation port recently released, I have yet to check out any differences. Nevertheless, the game should still feel relaxing and compelling to play regardless of console choice. Sea of Stars received favorable reviews upon its initial release, with critics comparing the game to the likes of Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG. In turn, they agreed that this game elevated what was great about the original formula to a modern generation. I would argue that Sea of Stars paid homage to those great games of the past. If you were a player who previously enjoyed those retro-styled games, then Sea of Stars is definitely for you. In other ways, Sea of Stars recommended I check out other well-known 2D games, including Golden Sun and The Messenger. It is impressive what a game can do, like opening up a roster to try out more games that inspired Sea of Stars in the first place. Sea of Stars got me back into playing 2D platformer games again. Apart from the impact it had on me, it was a terrific game in itself. A great story, a charming cast of characters, and engaging combat mechanics. I hope more players will have an opportunity to give this game a go and support the indie companies that have created extraordinarily unique games. Sea of Stars is now available to play on Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch. And that is my review of Sea of Stars. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please check out my channel for more. If you had played Sea of Stars, what did you think of the game? Feel free to comment below. Thank you all for watching. This is Pearl, signing out.